Yeah, so in this lecture we'll start seeing what are the versions of Selenium available. So earlier there was a version called Selenium 1.0. Let me write it just as a notes. I'll make it a big. So earlier formerly we say it as RC, remote control server. So from last 2 years back in 2011 we just migrated to latest version called Selenium 2.0. It is Webdriver. So this course is completely based on the latest version Webdriver. So RC is officially depreciated by the Selenium team. So why? The first question, why not RC? Why the latest version? So what enhancements that Selenium team made to the RC and what made them to come to Webdriver? So let's understand from architecture perspective. So if you see to Selenium 1.0 RC, there are a lot of disadvantages. So before I talk about them, I'll just briefly explain the Selenium 1.0 architecture. Like in the back end, how does it actually works and it serves our automation purpose. Okay, so let me take a paint. I'll just write a normal rough diagram. Just bear with me. And okay, so consider this as our editor where we actually write Selenium RC code. Okay, so we write our plain code in an editor. So about what editor we'll talk in the later. Some editor we have written our Selenium code, and this is an application which we need to test. Okay, this is on web browser. This is an application under test. So we need to automate this website. Assume that we need to automate this. So between our code and application there is a proxy server called Selenium RC server. It is basically we say it as remote control server. Okay, so whenever we run the code here, so this code first will go it into the RC server. So the language we use to write Selenium RC is Selenium. Okay, Selenium is the language where we write our code in the older version. So basically we use Selenium commands to automate the application. So whenever we run this code, these Selenium commands will go to the server. So server receives these Selenium commands and it interprets them. It interprets and understands the language written by Selenium. So for example, I want to click on a link. So I will give some command in Selenium using Selenium command saying that web object dot click something. So when we run this, first this step will go it into the server, and server, this RC server interprets the Selenium command sent by us, and then it understands saying that okay, so the user wants to click on particular object, and this server triggers that particular JavaScript on the application. Okay, so whenever it receives the command, if there is something information like we need to click on it, so what it does is it executes, it triggers that event, JavaScript event in an application, so that link will be clicked. So what you understand from this architecture is, so underlying JavaScript language we are using to trigger the events in the application. So if you send other command, if you send other command saying enter the information in the edit field, you write some Selenium command. So whenever you run this command will go into the server, and server interprets the RC command, and then it triggers that particular JavaScript event in an application to enter the information what we given here. Okay, so ultimately whatever you does, finally the JavaScript events will be triggered in an application, which will useful for automation. Okay, with that events triggering, the automation will be happening on application. So the problems what we are facing here is, so day by day the browsers are becoming more robust and robust. So because of that, they are not allowing to trigger JavaScripts onto the application, because there are a lot of security threats in it. So if you invoke or if you trigger some JavaScript on application, so there might be a chance for hacking, and there are many security loopholes. So because of that, web browsers using mechanism to stop that JavaScript events triggering on their browsers. So if our application is on Firefox browser, so the latest version Firefox browser imposed a strict rules to stop the JavaScript triggering. So because of that, applications are facing many inconsistency to run. Okay, so and the APIs what they have developed here for RC, they are not up to support for a rich APIs like Ajax components, HTML5. So there are many things which RC cannot automate those. So to overcome the drawbacks, so here the main drawback is the JavaScript triggering in an application. So that is the big drawback which made the Selenium team to think and to come up with a new version to overcome this server concept. Okay, so they need to direct interaction between the web browser and the editor where we write our code, and there should not be any JavaScript events triggering there. Okay, so these are the disadvantages what they have taken up, and they have come up with the latest version called Webdriver Selenium 2.0, and the architecture of that overcomes all these disadvantages, and that becomes more robust in automating the application. So that's the reason, and they clearly announced, the Selenium team clearly announced that previous version Selenium 1.0 is officially depreciated. In future, any enhancement if the team needs to do, they will perform it on latest version WebDriver only. So for example, now tomorrow I think Firefox 33 is the latest version when I am teaching this video. Tomorrow it may be 50, 56 after 2-3 years. Right now I think I have 22 or 23 is the latest version, sorry. So tomorrow it may be 40 or 50 after 2-3 years. So to support that browser, if they need any patch, they will implement it in WebDriver only. So there are no more enhancements in the RC. So that's the reason people who are already in RC are migrating to WebDriver, or the people who are new to Selenium starting kicking off their learning from WebDriver only. So that's the backend main reason what's the need for migration. So in next session we will see the architecture of WebDriver and how they come up with the latest design to overcome this disadvantage. Okay, thank you.